Hello everyone. I usually don't do I have, but I usually don't do religious topics on my channel, but I am a Christian, and even if you're not one, this topic may interest you. I grew up in an evangelical household, middle America. And always was taught that the rapture was, pre-trib, and then number one, more importantly, not number one, but the number one point would be that it's pre-trib and that it is real. I was too young to participate or watch the Left Behind series, but my older siblings watched it, and we're going to be discussing that. The tribulation, or excuse me, the rapture rather, is coming up now because of in current day because of the political climate, especially in Israel at this moment with Palestine and Israel. Now, this isn't a conversation about that, but even before that stuff, it's been going on for centuries, but because of the things that are going on even in the United States, whenever something politically doesn't go the religious right's way, all of a sudden the rapture is on the horizon, and it's really, and I've listened to non-Christians or people who grew up in the church and who are not Christian anymore, and I have to agree, it's a fear tactic. It's a fear tactic. It caused trauma to a lot of children, and I don't want to say that flippantly, but it scared children that you just would be disappeared in the middle of the night. You can't prepare, and that's my thing, like, my parents believe in it, and they'll say, oh, you have to be prepared. Well, how do you prepare for something, and I'm just saying how it was taught to us, that could happen in a twinkling of an eye? How do you prepare for that? Like, what if, I'm not married, but what if I just committed adultery, and then all of a sudden, the rapture happens? Do I get cast into hell? Or I just don't get to come in the rapture? And it almost sounds like, and I wasn't raised Catholic, but it's almost like a purgatory-esque thing. And I think that's how at least one of the Left Behind movies presented it as, like, if you don't do the right thing before the rapture, you're basically in a hell-like state that isn't hell. But if I was raised Protestant, they don't believe in the purgatory. So, I want to say this too. I am, hopefully, in the next few days, going to be learning how to be a truck driver. So, taking CDL classes. So, let's say I'm driving my big commercial vehicle down a highway, and all of a sudden, I'm gone. And the truck keeps going and kills multitudes of people. So God, let's just say, God has cast multitudes of people into hell. Never mind the other Christians that are on the road. We have cast people into hell. Or not cast them, but we have killed them and they're in hell. What kind of God does that? It doesn't make quite a bit of sense. And what I read is that the whole rapture theory was made or came about because some little girl had a vision, and some church just incorporated that within the last few centuries. So when the church was created, even if you want to just count Luther and the Reformation, there was no such thing as a rapture belief. Nobody believed in a rapture. Nobody Catholic believed in a rapture. Nobody in Bible times believed in a rapture. And the only thing that you can say is, and I just finished watching a video where a lady says, when it says, he's going to come in a twinkling of an eye, it's basically pointing to post-trib, where the world is burning up, and the creation of the new earth will be happening. So the earth is burning up, everything's turning to fire and ash. That has nothing to do with pre-trib, where people are still here. So God's burning up the earth with people still here. So what happened to this mark of the beast? That can't happen if people are burning up. And all of you, we heard the rapture garbage, happening when COVID happened. That this is a sign of the times. Well then, and I'm going to say this too, and I don't care what political side you're on. I don't like anybody, so I'm an independent person. I don't like anybody. I think both sides are very wicked. The only person I saw bamboozle and get people on their side from other countries included, Britain, other countries, was Donald Trump. He has the cult following. He can just say cult-like things and people just do what he wants. Nobody's done anything on the behest of Joe Biden. Nobody's done anything unless you want to, I mean, I'm not over there in Russia, but, you know, it was supposed to be the person who comes, who's the Antichrist, is supposed to, you know, be controlling everybody. Not controlling, but when they speak, everybody listens, and they just obey and do all this stuff. Well, Joe Biden certainly doesn't qualify for that. Everybody made fun of him. No, the whole world isn't listening to Putin. The whole world isn't listening to whoever is ruling China. They're not listening to whoever, you know, Kim Jong-un. No, none of the people we've demonized don't qualify for the Antichrist. The only person I could think of at the world stage was Donald Trump. That he snaps his fingers and everybody just falls over and buys all these guns and does all these things and all this other stuff. You know, even if we want to go for the riots that happened in BLM, there was no one person doing that. You know, no one person said that, and that was only one group of people, a small group of people at that. You know, when it was a march on Wall Street and all the liberal people, you know, the kooky people, smashed all the buildings. Where was the man who just rose up and conducted all this? There wasn't. All I've heard is George Soros, some man named George Soros, who you never see do anything. And but that's not biblical. We're supposed to know who he is. He's supposed to be here, standing, speaking in a Hitler's fashion. You know, just like Hitler. You know, that's why people say there have been many different antichrists. Well, the only thing close to it has been Donald Trump. You know. It hasn't been Joe Biden, as wicked as the left is. It hasn't been anybody, you know, I can't name one. Putin isn't even Hitlerish in that sense, where here is this man, and all these little people, or people under him, just do his bidding, and you're captured, and your house is searched, and all this other stuff. All we've heard of, or conspiracy theories, all the conspiracy theories have come out on the right. With, if you someone just take a vaccine, you're gonna never have children ever again. If you so much, you're gonna fall over dead. Now I'll say this: the left was wrong, but they said, you know, if you don't take one, you know, you'll, you know, kill everybody, or they didn't predict that you needed a bunch of boosters, so that was wrong. And anyway, even there's some secret people who made this disease. Well, if it's the Antichrist, I'm just saying for myself, especially in the end times, we should see who he is, not some, well, George Soros is doing all that. Well, I'm not seeing him say or do anything. That's what you're saying he's doing. Hitler wasn't a secret. Hitler wasn't a secret. Nero wasn't a secret. He stood there and said what he was going to do. You know, none of these evil people in history did stuff in secret. Yes, did they lie and manipulate? Even cult leaders have blatantly said something, you know, and if Christians are the ones targeted, and right now Christianity is lessening even in the Western world, why would this person care? You know, the Antichrist is supposed to care, so why is he in secret? Wouldn't he just have everyone's guns taken from them, or which would take 600 years? So if people willingly gave up their firearms, it would take this government 600 years to accomplish that. So if when the end does come and the Antichrist is here, that means something terrible is going to happen. That we'll be snatched in the streets or something, and our houses burned to the ground. Somehow they'll have to get us in the United States. We have the many firearms in the United States. So somehow we're going to be gotten, or people will be so deceived that they'll just give them up. You know, it would have to be something like that. And it's not just Republicans or right-wingers who own guns. They're liberals who own guns. So this person has to be so crafty that people would just give them. And then tattle on their fellow man. And it would have to be like an Inquisition type thing. You know, it's going to be huge. So all these right-wingers, religious, who just say these things, it's not going to be done in secret. No, well, it's out of here, it's out of there, it's these people. He's gonna stand there. Hitler stood there. We have his speeches to this day. Him standing there saying it. Here he is. He's not hiding in the shadows. He's not whispering in the dark. Here he is. Here are the Nazis. Here are these people standing clearly in front of you. The evil doesn't, if evil feels that it's winning, it will not hide. If evil feels it has the upper hand, why should they hide in the, with the Republicans and conservatives have it, that some secret person or secret people, a secret person, whoever it is, George Soros, somebody, they said Obama's doing it, so, the Muslim born in Kenya, just craziness, that somebody is sitting at a table conducting this meeting with other secret people, and with our faces on the screen. That's some Illuminati type weirdness, and that's not biblical. He's gonna be, the Antichrist would be here saying these things in front of us, and saying, kill these people, do these things. Why should he hide? Why should he hide with our faces on the screen? Why is he going around with hooded clothing? Why is he just whispering in the dark? That's not in the scriptures. None of what the right is said is in the scriptures. That secret people are doing these diseases. If it was the Antichrist, why are we not snatched in the streets and whisked away to some hospital or just injected in public? That's what happened in Nazi Germany. They did the things to the Jews in the streets. People saw what was happening. People saw evil done to black people in the civil. Why are you hiding it? Why isn't it here? Why isn't it in front of people's faces? Evil doesn't have to hide if it feels it's winning or they're doing right. Why, the Inquisition, the Catholic Church didn't have to hide. They did the executions in the public square. Why are they hiding? Why are they having people's pictures on the screen? They don't have to do that. So a lot of the religious right don't read the Bible, it seems, or don't quite understand it. None of the Bible says somebody's face is on the screen with a bunch of hooded individuals with an unknown person just saying crazy stuff. It's going to be horrible. If they're making decisions of who can eat and who lives and dies, no, I don't think anybody's face is going to be on the screen. They'd have to know who you are to not let you eat or buy anything. They'd have to know who you are. And at that point, the grand conductor, the Antichrist, is here for all to see. And if you really think Obama is that crafty, then you need a mental exam. And it's just craziness. And again, nobody on the left is having this power. Yes, are there evil people on the left who've done things? Yes, but I don't see a herd of people just bowing down and just doing whatever, or just snatching up people or doing these things. There have been incidences, yes, the transgenders who beat up that lady in New Zealand, that, the craziness, the few riots that happened with BLM, because it wasn't as much as the conservatives wanted to be, just as the left made any interaction during the protests, that the police had, all the police were just massacres and just evil, just basically Nazis. That was very few. The police were not as violent, and if they had to resort to violence, it wasn't that often. So everybody on both corners has sat there and lied. And if you're lying on people, you're evil. Just point blank, period. That's bearing false witness. You ought not lie. And what does the Bible say about liars? Liars should be cast into the pit of hell. You aren't good for lying and carrying on lies. I don't care who it's against, whether it's a cop or somebody else. You don't get to lie because you vote a certain way. You don't get to lie because you believe in a certain religion. And also, I would say anybody who believes in the rapture cannot believe by faith alone. Because the rapture basically says if you aren't preparing, which is doing, it's preparing is a work. I don't know what it is, but it's work. It's an unknown work. That you will be left behind. So you can be a Christian, and I remember this when one of my older siblings' husband told me about the Left Behind series. Oh, well, he wasn't living right. So, meaning he was still a Christian, but he just wasn't living right. So that's not by faith alone. That's faith plus works. So God will, overlook you or leave you behind if you don't do faith plus works, which is believe yet prepare.